Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. Today we're talking about a game that lost relevancy as soon as it released, but not in the heart and mind of one young Tucker Hazel. That game, of course, is Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics' magnum opus, Marvel's Avengers. Now, let's
Yes.
let's frame this accordingly. This is a review, but mainly from Tucker's perspective. I want to let you know that I played some of this game too. I got to where you unlock Black Widow. I said, I wish I was playing Destiny 2. I proceeded to download Destiny 2, and then I proceeded to buy God of War the next day after Ragnarok was announced. I had to make space on my PS4 hard drive. I deleted Marvel's Avengers. 2 days later, you asked me, should we do a Marvel's Avengers review? And I said, and I'm prone to hyperbole, but this is 100% fact. Tucker, I forgot that game came out.
hmm That is definitely one of the things that you would hyperbolize about, because you tend to do that a lot, especially in
Yes.
our texts. You like to try to mess with my brain, and you say things that are just blatantly untrue, and you're like, I wonder if he'll catch him. So I've learned to not trust most of the things you say to me. I'm twisting my computer because there's a little light on my keyboard, but you know what? I'm not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Marvel's Avengers, a game that I have been playing for the last few weeks. It has taken me a few weeks because this game. And we've talked about it maybe 4 or 5 times on this channel total. We did initial impressions, which we were actually relatively positive about. And we've done some pre-release content in terms of reactions and discussions and things of that nature. This is our review of Reassembled, the campaign for Marvel's Avengers. This game, I was so hyped for. You can go back and watch those videos and watch how excited I was about the Kate Bishop trailer, about the Spider-Man announcement, all of that. This is easily the most disappointed I've been in a $60 package in my entire life. Maybe No Man's Sky initially, but that actually redeemed itself later on. Marvel's Avengers I don't know how it came out like this. It's so fucking bad, dude. I played most of the game. I got all the characters, and I was getting, like, Iron Man's like, all right, we're geared up for the final confrontation with AIM. I'm like, fuck yeah. And then the mission, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but whatever. The mission right before, I'm talking for the audience, not for you. I know you don't give a shit. The mission right before the final confrontation, you have to go out and collect materials to like build yourself suits or whatever, some dumb fucking thing. It's not a good mission structure. But my game deleted missions or something like that. I can't access the missions I need to go to get the materials to get the last thing. I have not beaten this game because my game will not let me beat the game because of how poor the mission structure is. And that is emblematic of the rest of the game, just not knowing the fuck it is. And I said I wasn't going to get too loud in this, but I have to get passionate because
Sure.
I slogged through this fucking game, and the amount of incorrect pings on that I had to go to, and the texture pop in, and the improper loading, and the awful load times between a random death and unfair combat and things like that. I hate this fucking game, man. I really do.
I like hearing you fired up in a negative direction because it fucking never happens. This is exciting for me personally. And my general thesis about this game is that Crystal Dynamics really wanted to make a Tomb Raider Avengers game. They wanted to make a single-player, narrative-driven adventure game. And when you see glimmers of that, I think you see glimmers of what could have been a fairly compelling superhero game.
Yeah.
But it's shoved in an apparatus that is an absolute mismatch of developer and game type.
Yeah.
This team was not equipped to handle this, and I don't even think Square Enix as a publisher was equipped to handle this either, because there's nothing else like this in their catalog. Nobody who associated with this project seemed to understand how to make a games as a service title, which has been my contention all along.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, by the way, neither of us even fucking touched any of the multiplayer persistent elements of this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, that then bled into the stuff that Crystal is good at, which is the single player stuff, which makes it, in my opinion, completely unfun to play.
Yeah. And you were saying in our first impressions that you were surprised by how much you enjoyed the combat. And in our initial impressions, I think this is important to discuss, is that we're both pretty positive on it because this game actually has a pretty strong opening few hours. I think that the voice acting for the characters are all good. I think the writing is interesting. I'm interested in the story at the beginning. But guess what? It doesn't fucking go anywhere. I was excited because I was hooked by the beginning of the story to see, okay, when they bring in more characters, how does the character dynamic change? What happens with the Chimera, which is your home base and all of that? It barely goes anywhere. Characters show up, like Thor shows up right after you get Black Widow. He doesn't do anything. He's barely involved. they you don't really unlock more rooms to explore on the Chimera or anything. There's a couple, but they don't have anything in them. All of this stuff that seemed to have potential at the beginning just didn't evolve at all, and it ended up just feeling empty and shallow, and it just pissed me off because the more I play this game and the more I see the elements that I could like these set pieces that are sometimes pretty cool. Like when you get Captain America, it's Iron Man going up to, he jets off into space and Captain America is powering a satellite and you have to like resurrect him and escape a self-destructing satellite. That's fucking cool. But that's one out of like 20 something missions. That's when it finally feels unique and like there's actual impact. But other than that, you're just going to a base that has guys at it in usually the Badlands, which has the same fucking environments, and sometimes the bases look the exact same, and they reuse rooms, and it just proves to me that they didn't know what the hell they were doing here. It's not a good multiplayer game. It's not a good single player game.
I think it's interesting hearing you say this outside the context of having played a game like Destiny for as long as I have. If you've seen, actually that video is not out. I don't know what's coming up, but we talked about how Destiny is one of my favorite games of all time in a video that will release at a point in time. The fact is, I'm intimately familiar with that structure and how that structure informed games like The Division and Anthem, and how some games took what Destiny did and bettered it and took the good elements of Destiny, and then some games just took that same archetypical 2014 formula and tried to repurpose it. And Avengers is a fucking elegant example of that. Elegant in the sense that it's a great example of what to do wrong. The game is not elegant at all because the combat is good. I contest and will continue to contest that the combat is the best part of the game. However, when you put it in the context of a defend the fucking point mission, and the point is about the size of the keyhole to a fucking gopher's front door, it doesn't make any sense when these characters are about upward and outward mobility. There is a very particular mission where you're breaking into an AIM structure in a city, and you're playing as Tony, and Jarvis is like, Jarvis, it could be your fucking Destiny Ghost, serves the exact same purpose. It's like, hey, I gotta open this door. Stand in this little hole as fucking Iron Man. Don't fly, don't move. Fight them as you're being
don't be Iron Man.
In every fucking direction by AIM guards. It's so rudimentary. It's so 6 years ago. It is not how you execute a game like this at all, because it doesn't understand if it wants to be Destiny or if it wants to be Insomniac Spider-Man or if it wants to be Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 The Black Order, because all three of those games understand what they want to be and execute on that. This executes on the ability to pick up your DualShock and hit buttons and have things happen. Sometimes the wrong things happen when you hit the buttons. It's not a well-constructed video game.
No. And the holes in it, I think, are where I find my most disappointment. On top of that, the fact that I don't think it succeeds as the Marvel game that I wanted. Because at the beginning, I was hooked by the fact that we were exploring Jersey City as Kamala, and we were introducing these characters. And I do think the introductions to characters are pretty good. But it doesn't build on those elements in the ways that I was wanting. So you don't get new bad guys showing up that have connections to the characters. You don't have iconic Marvel locations to explore. There's not really much of a lore that expands. It really just, from what you get from the beginning is what you get, and it doesn't really go anywhere with that. And on top of that, as you were saying, it doesn't function as a video game. This game needed another year of polish, if anything, to fix the just technical problems it has. I think there was a patch recently or is coming out soon, but the load times, the texture pop in, the incorrect like dialogue loading, the clipping through environments, the improper animations, like this game was just baked for 25 seconds and they're like, all right, have a Marvel game, fucking go ham. And it's very unfortunate because I was excited for this game and I am interested to see what they do with it in the future. And if they can fix those issues and if they can make the additional content compelling, I will go back to it. But this Reassemble campaign is such a fucking just empty shithole that I can't even say much more about it.
Marvel's Avengers Update 1.3 brings 1,000 plus fixes to the game. which is a
like what, 2 weeks after launch? maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost 3 weeks.
Okay.
An unfathomable amount of changes, and it's clear that this game has been in development hell for a while
Yeah.
because it does not hit the fidelity that other games
No.
on the
Oh my
console
god.
do.
The slowdown and the like, it gets to be like 480p at sometimes. Like characters are just jagged blobs of pixels as particle effects and shit are fluttering. Granted, I am playing on a base PS4, but that should not be happening. Remove particle effects and remove extra fucking crackle in the environment to have your game look like a current gen video game. Please, I'm begging you.
Yeah, I mean, I can keep dogging on its design philosophy. I can keep dogging on its narrative structure. I can dog on the fact that it just clearly wasn't the game it was supposed to be,
Mhm.
but or that the developers wanted it to be. And I certainly don't think that this is the game that Square Enix was hoping for.
No.
And the fact that it went on sale so quickly after launch, the fact that any and all excitement for it has immediately tanked, just makes me feel bad for, if anybody, Crystal Dynamics, because that is a good team. I have played Rise of the Tomb Raider, and while it exists squarely in the shadow of Naughty Dog's Uncharted games, it's still a compelling third-person action game. This is not, and after I think Eidos Montreal made a better Tomb Raider game than Crystal did with Shadow, it just makes me feel bad that this is what the team has been doing.
Yeah.
And as a player, it makes me feel bad that I wasted my money. I often buy games that I don't like and think, man, I feel bad about this. Probably shouldn't have done it, but this one just makes me feel tired. I'm just tired. It reminds me of when I bought Anthem on launch day and got to a mission where there is this huge cutscene and then there's this big fucking boss. You're like, fight the boss. The boss despawned and the mission ended. And I ejected the game from my disk drive and said, never again. I had the exact same feeling playing Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah. I was very excited to have this conversation with you because I have been playing the game sort of in secret and not telling you what I was thinking about it because going into this a couple months before we started recording, you were saying if you start saying that you like this game, you're going to do many things to me. And I was sitting there like, he's in for a fucking surprise because usually I'm not negative. Usually, even if it's something I don't personally love, I have respect for it. I understand where people are coming from, or even if it's a genre I'm not into. Like, I put this game on my 2020 games ranked at the very bottom, which is right below Xenoblade Chronicles Remake, which is a game I don't personally like, but it is a quality video game that is playable. That's the thing. Is this game is what I should. It is something I should like. I should be the guy sitting in the corner saying like, "Well, screw all those problems. It has a fun Miss Marvel storyline, which I do think it does, but that doesn't take away from the fact that overall this game is just crap." And it disappoints me because this was supposed to be the thing where I was like, "Hey, Miss Marvel is going to become my favorite superhero is going to become a big character that people can connect to." Unfortunately, she's in the center of this fucking shit hurricane, and it. Uh, uh, I don't even know how this game ends. I'm gonna go look up the ending fight and cutscene after this because I do want to know how the story ends
Yeah.
and see if it brings it up at all. But I couldn't get to that part, which I think is what is really frustrating me at most because I like completing things even if I'm not super into them. But I couldn't. I just literally could not with this game.
This is a case study in why you should play to the strengths of your team and play to the strengths of an idea and not follow market trends. Because this is clearly a game that got greenlit many, many years ago when Destiny was popping off and when rumblings were happening that Ubisoft was going to jump in with a division and that all of this stuff was percolating around. So Square Enix says, we need this too. Clearly, the game has been tortured with how long it was leaked beforehand, and the fact that it resulted the way it did is another example of why just doing what's popular is not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Um, that is all I have to say about Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah, I think my rant is kind of over. I'm sorry if my loudness here has sort of fucked over my microphone and I sound like shit. That's been happening the last few videos. The opening to the Donkey Kong video where I talk about MILFs, that I was too loud there and I apologize. I need to test my mic quality a little more. But Yeah, I'm passionate about this game in a way that I wasn't expecting to. I'm very sad because our initial impressions were relatively positive. I just want a cool superhero game, man. I know Miles Morales is coming out soon, and I'll probably enjoy Arkham, fucking Gotham people, and also Suicide Squad. But this game just could have been so cool, but it really is not.
That was what I wanted to end on. We're not in an era where superhero games are just fucked in their entirety. You know, this isn't the PS2 era where you get like maybe one good one, then a bunch of shit licensed superhero games. We've got Miles Morales, which is shaping up to be excellent and playable on my PS4, which is nice in certain respects. And then we have what DC is putting out, and by contrast to this game, it looks like WB Montreal is understanding the underlying sentiments, the underlying appeal of these games, which is multiplayer, but putting that in the context of a game that they understand.
Yeah.
When I look at Gotham Knights, after the marketing was cleared up and we really learned that it's a single player or co-op game, it's structured as one of their games, it has RPG elements, but this is a WB Montreal game. I have a lot more confidence in that than the approach of taking a team, taking an idea, making them do this, even though it makes no sense. So I think that there is a reason for superhero games to be exciting. I think there's a reason for fans to look forward to them, regardless if you're Marvel or DC. You got some fucking cool stuff in the pipeline. So even though this was a miss, and I wasted $63.29 after sales tax on it, these things happen, and we delivered a lot of nice content to all of you.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I'm done. I don't recommend this game. You know, we don't do a lot of reviews where I come off negative, but this is certainly one of them. And you know what? It's gonna happen. It's fun. Who knows? Who cares? You know, video games are cool, but just not this one. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe to the channel if you watched all the way through this. I'd be surprised if you weren't, because our content is just so fantastic. Follow us on Twitter. I don't tweet on the Backlog Banter account as much as I should anymore, but I'm just busy with other shit and carrying the fucking channel on my back. But other than that, I'm done here. So see you guys in another video.
Marvel's Avengers somehow worse than Carrion?
Bahooga. Fuck it, we talk about Avengers. Know what I'm saying? Okay,
I
all
know what
right.
you're saying.
How is my? If I talk aloud, is it annoying? Is it grating? Is it? I want to not have fucking bass boosted voice anymore because the last two videos have been pretty bad.
You do have bass boosted voice. Just talk a little bit quieter.
Okay, is this okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
If I have my microphone here, how bad?
Okay, well, you're yelling.
No, I know, but like when I start the video, I like to have some energy.
Right, but that's too much.
Shit, fuck. Ah!
How about I do the intro? And then
but
you
I
can be as loud
love
as you
doing
want.
the intro. I love talking about how we like to fuck MILFs.
All right, well then, how would you tell the audience about your MILF hunting habits, and we'll just get into the
No, actually, you can do the intro.
Okay. Hey everybody, what are you doing on your Switch? I'm gonna throw you out a window. I just heard you click something on your Switch. I'm gonna throw you out a window.
Oh, what the fuck? I just moved my microphone a little bit.
I'm hearing things.
What the fuck are you talking about? Jesse,
I'm
what the fuck are you talking about?
I have barely eaten anything today.